After the death of the Emperor of Tian Kun, the vast territory of Shei Kingdom became the target of many powerful forces. Silver Moon Godly King, Sea Demon Godly King, Tian Yi Godly King, Cold Forest Country Lord, and Dark Sky Venerable all gathered there, hoping to claim a share of the kingdom. However, Luo He Godly King showed no intention of compromising and openly declared that the entire territory of Shei Kingdom belonged to the Blade River Sect alone. His statement stunned everyone. They were all Second Realm Godly Kings, and Dark Sky Venerable even represented the powerful Destruction Army. Yet Luo He treated them as if they were insignificant. Cold Forest Country Lord angrily accused him of being too domineering. Silver Moon Godly King tried to negotiate, suggesting that everyone divide Shei Kingdom peacefully. He proposed that Blade River Sect and Cold Forest Country each receive 30 adjacent Primal Chaos prefectures, while the remaining territory would be split among the 3 Second Realm Godly Kings. The proposal immediately caused disagreement. Cold Forest Country Lord complained that Silver Moon was trying to take too much for himself, while Tian Yi Godly King argued that Cold Forest Country should already be satisfied with gaining any territory at all. The two sides had already begun bargaining over the division of Shei Kingdom as if Luo He were not present. At that moment, the 5 silver-clothed avatars of Luo Feng spoke again. He repeated that the entire Shei Kingdom belonged to the Blade River Sect and that there would be no negotiations whatsoever. If anyone disagreed, then they could settle the matter by strength. He even declared that they could invite as many allies as they wished and that he would send one avatar to fight each of them personally. His arrogance enraged everyone present. To them, Luo He was trying to monopolize everything without leaving anyone else even a small benefit. Luo Feng then gave them 10 breaths to make a decision. If they still refused to leave after that, he would attack. The confrontation quickly attracted the attention of the entire land of origin. Emperor Chu watched with great interest, believing that his disciples' current strength was more than enough to control Shei Kingdom. In his eyes, Luo Feng's previous territory of 20 Primal Chaos prefectures had always been too small for his capabilities. He also felt that Luo Feng had never revealed his full strength and was eager to see what he would display this time. Di Yan also observed the battle. Although he was more concerned about tracking down the mysterious black-robed killer who had murdered Tian Kun, he still paid attention to Luo He. He believed Luo He possessed extraordinary potential and might one day become another existence like Zongfu. Unfortunately for Di Yan, both Emperor Chu and Di Fu appeared to support Luo He, preventing him from acting against him. Many other major figures of the land of origin, including the Wind City Empress, Emperor Gui Shu, Wu Xin Godly King, Yu Shui Country Master, Di Chuying, Emperor Chu Yu, and even Mountain Sitting Guest, all watched the battle through various recorded images. As the 10 breaths ended, the atmosphere became tense. The powers of the 6 experts collided in the sky above Shei Kingdom. The power of the world, destructive forces, icy energy, and endless water currents all clashed against one another. Silver Moon Godly King still attempted to persuade Luo He to divide the kingdom peacefully, but Luo Feng ignored him. The 5 silver-clothed avatars each raised a hand, and a pitch-black blade light with faint azure edges appeared in every palm. This was the Chaos Hole Undying Light, a terrifying technique nurtured within Luo Feng's inner worlds. After his evolution into a 24-phase form world life form, even the inner worlds of his avatars had become vastly more powerful, granting this technique frightening might. The moment the 5 blade lights were released, they instantly reached their targets. Cold Forest Country Lord was struck first. The blade light cut him in half at the waist, instantly destroying a huge portion of his divine power. Realizing that a few more strikes would completely kill him, he immediately abandoned his body and allowed his resurrection carrier in Tianmu Kingdom to revive him. Sea Demon Godly King, whose body consisted of endless water, was also struck. One slash alone destroyed nearly 20% of the divine power in his avatar. He was horrified by the overwhelming difference in strength. The blade light then continued pursuing him relentlessly until his entire avatar was completely annihilated. Before disappearing, he urgently sent a message to Silver Moon Godly King, warning him that Luo He was far too powerful and that they should retreat. Tian Yi Godly King attempted to escape by using his extraordinary movement techniques. Every time he was struck, he instantly moved trillions of kilometers away. However, The Chaos Whole Undying Light continued to track him relentlessly. After losing more than half of his divine power reserve, Tian Yi finally abandoned the fight and fled beyond the range of Luo Feng's power of the world, causing the Blade Light to lose its target. Only Silver Moon Godly King and Dark Sky Venerable remained. Dark Sky Venerable's defensive power was astonishing. The Blade Light could only shatter 1 or 2 scales on his black armor before they instantly regenerated. Even though the Blade Light repeatedly attacked him, it was little more than a minor annoyance. Silver Moon Godly King was in a much worse situation. Although his body possessed tremendous vitality and could rapidly heal, he could not truly resist the attacks. Luo Feng recognized that Dark Sky Venerable was by far the strongest among them and that his current technique could hardly threaten him. Then Luo Feng made his move against Silver Moon. He recalled the other Blade Lights and ordered all 5 Chaos Whole Undying Lights to attack Silver Moon Godly King simultaneously. Silver Moon's expression changed dramatically. He could barely handle a single Blade Light, and now all 5 were attacking together. The combined assault struck him dozens of times in an instant, tearing apart his body and scattering blood and hair through the sky. At that moment, Silver Moon completely abandoned any thoughts of taking Shei Kingdom. He realized that if Luo he became his neighbor, he would never be able to hold his own territory securely. Without any desire to continue the fight, he transformed into a streak of light and escaped into the void. With Cold Forest Country Lord defeated, Sea Demon Godly King's avatar destroyed, Tian Yi Godly King fleeing, and Silver Moon Godly King retreating, only Dark Sky Venerable remained standing before Luo Feng. The 5 silver-clothed Luo he's calmly recalled their Chaos Whole Undying Lights back into their inner worlds, having completely crushed every challenger through overwhelming strength. In Huyang City, Morosa sensed something strange about the Dark Sky Venerable. As a second realm god king sector beast, he understood the abilities of a pinnacle sector beast and knew that such a creature could nurture an extremely powerful destruction army. He explained to Luo Feng through telepathy that the army should have a supreme commander called the Destruction Emperor, assisted by 18 generals and 36 leaders. The Destruction Emperor was the most perfect ultimate realm warrior, possessing combat power even greater than a sector beast itself. Morosa felt that the Dark Sky Venerable's life aura was incomplete and concluded that the 6 Venerables of Tianmu Kingdom were actually fragments of a divided Destruction Emperor. He warned Luo Feng to be extremely careful. After hearing this, Luo Feng realized that the sector beast of Tianmu Kingdom had been hiding its true strength by splitting the most terrifying leader of the Destruction Army into 6 separate beings. Dark Sky Venerable then challenged Luo Feng, asking him to bring out all 5 of his avatars. He showed complete disdain toward the other second realm god kings and considered only Luo Feng worthy of his attention. Luo Feng calmly refused, saying one avatar was enough. The silver-clothed Luo Feng immediately transformed his robe into an endless silver river that spread across trillions of kilometers and trapped Dark Sky Venerable within it. The river possessed terrifying corrosive power, stronger than Luo Feng's previous chaotic whole undying light, and it even damaged Dark Sky Venerable's scales and flesh. Dark Sky Venerable was surprised because the corrosive power contained the essence of destruction itself and the river's material was filled with endless vitality. Luo Feng's current combat methods combined his powerful physical body, the Star Tower's mysteries, his God-King level will, the 24-phase world life body, and the Great Extinction style. The Silver River fully displayed the terrifying strength of his physical body. The spectators across the land of origin were shocked. Emperor Gui Shu admitted that he would suffer even worse injuries if trapped inside that domain, while Wuxin God King believed that even his extraordinary movement techniques could only allow him to flee. Everyone finally recognized Luo Feng's terrifying strength. Despite the river's suppression, Dark Sky Venerable charged directly toward Luo Feng and launched a devastating punch that affected the laws of heaven and earth and completely locked onto its target. Luo Feng responded with a blade-like palm strike resembling a blazing sun. Their collision unleashed terrifying shockwaves that nearly struck the Eater King's capital before being restrained by the surrounding galaxy. Dark Sky Venerable remained standing with only minor damage to his scales, while Luo Feng was sent flying backward with blood dripping from his hand. Luo Feng immediately realized that his physical body and techniques were still slightly inferior to Dark Sky Venerable's. The battle continued. with Dark Sky Venerable relentlessly attacking while Luo Feng used him as a whetstone to test and improve his understanding of the Star Tower. Life, destruction, and the fusion of life and death. The two exchanged hundreds of moves. During the fight, Dark Sky Venerable was secretly alarmed that even one of Luo Feng's avatars had a physical body only slightly weaker than his own. While Luo Feng's vitality seemed limitless and his divine power reserves showed no signs of depletion. Eventually, Dark Sky Venerable realized that Shei Kingdom would ultimately fall into Luo Feng's hands and that he could not protect Cold Forest Country Lord forever. However, he still wished to preserve the prestige of the Destruction Army. He then took out a God King Ultimate Realm weapon, a long stick. With a single swing, he tore open the membrane of the Source World itself and struck Luo Feng, ripping a huge wound across his body. Luo Feng realized that although Dark Sky Venerable's personal technique realm was slightly lower, the Ultimate Realm weapon allowed him to unleash even greater power. Yet what truly shocked everyone was that Luo Feng's godly body absorbed the attack with almost no significant energy consumption. Many experts of the Land of Origin became deeply alarmed. Emperor Di Yan admitted that very few beings in the Land of Origin could now kill Luo Feng and that perhaps only Emperor Qing or Emperor Ming could completely eliminate him. Emperor Chu, on the other hand, was delighted, believing that his disciple only lacked time and would one day stand directly against the emperors. Luo Feng then revealed his own weapon, the Bloodshadow Knife. It was a God King Ultimate Realm blade embryo that he had personally inscribed with secret patterns inspired by the Star Tower's deeper mysteries. Rather than focusing purely on destruction, he integrated both life and destruction into the weapon, making it a simplified version of the Star Tower. Holding the Bloodshadow Knife, Luo Feng unleashed a powerful slash. Dark Sky Venerable arrogantly chose not to dodge and instead met it head-on with his stick. When the two weapons collided, Dark Sky Venerable was astonished by the blade's incredible heaviness, which even surpassed the power of his own stick technique. His techniques contained various aspects of destruction, while Luo Feng's blade possessed only one characteristic, absolute heaviness. Neither side was forced backward, and the strike ended in a draw. Dark Sky Venerable finally acknowledged Luo Feng's strength, praising him for possessing and properly using a God King Ultimate Realm weapon. Luo Feng admitted that even his heaviest strike could not force Dark Sky Venerable to retreat and that he was still somewhat weaker. However, Dark Sky Venerable understood the reality. If he could not defeat even one of Luo Feng's avatars, then he had already lost. Without saying anything further, he returned to Tianmu Kingdom. After witnessing this battle, the experts of the Land of Origin finally realized the true terror of Luo He God King. His strength surpassed Emperor Gui Shu and Wuxin God King and placed him just below the Wind City Empress and Mother River Master. While possibly being comparable to experts such as Pu Xin, the boat master of the time-space Lonely Boat, and Yu Fu God King. After the Dark Sky Venerable retreated, only Luo Feng's 5 avatars remained above the Eater King's capital. Using his world power to cover the entire Shei Kingdom, he confirmed that no other powerful figures dared to challenge him. He believed that the strength he had displayed was perfect, strong enough to make emperors and monarchs think twice before opposing him, but not so overwhelming that he would be viewed as a threat on the level of the Earth God King or the Mother River Master. With the battle over, Luo Feng decided to officially take control of the entire Shei Kingdom. He knew governing such a vast territory would be difficult, but the Blade River Sect had cultivated many disciples over the years who could now assume important administrative positions. After making this decision, his 5 avatars disappeared. In Chu capital, Marquis Chu Yu held a grand banquet. He proudly spoke of his close friendship with Luo He, recalling how they had both started as eternal true gods in Huyang City before coming to Chu capital together. The attending marquises, guest elders, and God King disciples praised Luo Feng's astonishing rise, from the greatest expert of the primal chaos realm to an invincible first realm God King and now someone whose single avatar could rival Dark Sky Venerable. One of the 6 leaders of the Destruction Army, the imperial nobles greatly envied him and treated him with immense respect, seeing him as only one step below the emperors and monarchs. Marquis Chu Yu admitted that he could not compare with Luo Feng and was still struggling to comprehend the great Tao. But the guests flattered him and predicted he would one day become a God King. Thanks to his relationship with Luo Feng, Even ordinary god kings of the imperial clan did not dare underestimate him and hoped to establish connections with Luo Feng through him. Elsewhere, God King Chu Ying reflected on how giving Luo Feng a guest elder position in the past had been one of his wisest decisions. Luo Feng owed him a favor. And as Luo Feng's strength continued to rise, the value of that favor increased as well. Knowing his own limits and the difficulties of further advancement, Chu Ying intended to preserve this relationship for as long as possible and only seek Luo Feng's help if he eventually reached an insurmountable bottleneck. In Liuyu City, Liuyu God King anxiously waited when Luo Feng suddenly manifested an avatar before her. She respectfully requested to submit to him, explaining that her clan had deep roots throughout the land and could not simply abandon everything and flee. Everything she had done, including joining the Shei Kingdom in the past, was for the sake of her people. Luo Feng agreed to accept her loyalty but reduced her territory to only 5 primal chaos prefectures. Liuyu God King accepted and merely requested that the countless living beings in her former lands be spared from mass slaughter and capture. Luo Feng assured her that, unlike Emperor Tian Kun, he had no intention of consuming countless creatures and strictly forbade the large-scale capture of living beings within his territories. He then ordered Liuyu God King to work with Yuan, Luo Sa, and Xin Yu to receive and reorganize the former Eater King's capital territory. Luo Feng selected 20 primal chaos realm cultivators whom he considered worthy of remaining in their positions. While all the others were to be expelled, the takeover process was extremely complicated, involving cities, assets, mines, treasure-producing lands, and countless industrial chains. Yuan and Morosa led the operation with assistance from Xin Yu and Liuyu God King. While the disciples of the Blade River Sect handled specific tasks, Luo Feng's world power covered the entire territory, allowing nothing to escape his notice. At first, some people attempted to steal treasures and resources during the transition. But after Luo Feng severely punished 3 primal chaos realm cultivators by destroying their true bodies, confiscating their possessions, and expelling them, everyone became obedient and the takeover proceeded much more smoothly. Later, Morosa reported that although the reception of the territory was essentially complete, there had been unavoidable losses. Many expelled primal chaos cultivators had taken their families and subordinates with them, causing numerous industries to collapse due to the sudden lack of leadership. Luo Feng accepted these temporary losses and instructed Morosa and Yuan to prepare for a massive new recruitment drive for the Blade River Sect, at least 10 times larger than before. He believed this would become a great opportunity for the countless cultivators living across the 135 primal chaos prefectures who had suffered under previous rule. As they were discussing these matters, both Luo Feng and Morosa sensed a breakthrough occurring within the Blade River Sect. Moyu Qingyan had finally advanced. Moyu Qingyan had long desired this breakthrough. Since the beginning, he had followed Luo Feng and received guidance from Morosa, Yuan, and occasionally Luo Feng himself. As Luo Feng's only direct disciple, he had access to the best resources. Yet he felt immense pressure after his junior brother Xin Yu entered the primal chaos realm and many talented registered disciples joined the sect. To compensate, he worked tirelessly, studying every piece of advice his master gave him countless times. At last, his bloodline transformed, allowing him to control the primal chaos laws. Filled with tears of joy, Moyu Qingyan realized that he had finally broken through and become the second disciple under Luo Feng to reach the primal chaos realm, albeit through the bloodline cultivation path. After Moyu Qingyan completed his bloodline transformation, his divine body still needed time to evolve and grow in seclusion. At the same time, the Blade River Sect launched the largest recruitment campaign since its founding. Initial disciple selections were held simultaneously in every major city across the 155 primal chaos prefectures under the sect's rule. Those who passed became ordinary disciples and were later sent to Huyang City for another round of stricter examinations. Only the most outstanding candidates would become core disciples and cultivate at the headquarters, while the majority would train at branch sects. Among the core disciples, a few exceptional geniuses would have the chance to become registered disciples of Luo He God King. Becoming a direct disciple, however, depended entirely on fate. Since the sect's establishment, Luo He had accepted only 2 direct disciples, Moyu Qingyan, who had followed him since the eternal true God stage, and Xin Yu, who was chosen when the sect was first founded. Inside the main hall of the Blade River Sect headquarters, Luo Feng sat with Yuan, Morosa, Xin Yu, and Liu Yu God King, who had become a guest elder of the sect. 32 registered disciples were present, forming the upper echelon of the sect and managing its affairs. Luo Feng formally appointed Moyu Qingyan as the fourth elder of the Blade River Sect. He granted him a complete set of supreme-grade primal chaos realm secret treasures, 10 billion cosmic sand, and 10 treasures to aid his cultivation. Although the treasures given to Moyu Qingyan and Xin Yu were equal in value, they served different purposes. Xin Yu's rewards focused on cultivation because Luo Feng believed he had the potential to become a god king, while Moyu Qingyan's rewards emphasized combat strength and protection since his bloodline path had already limited his future prospects of reaching the god king realm. Morosa secretly thought Luo Feng was still too stingy, since the treasures he had personally given Moyu Qingyan were worth far more. As one of the rulers of the 155 territories, Morosa enjoyed resources comparable to those of the former Shei Kingdom's god kings and was completely biased toward Moyu Qingyan, unlike Luo Feng, who treated all his disciples equally. After the celebration, Morosa approached Luo Feng and complained that there was no more powerful prey for him to consume. He hoped to break through soon and reach the ultimate realm. Luo Feng replied that obtaining suitable food was difficult but that he was working on it. He reminded Morosa not to reveal the power of a sector beast before reaching the ultimate realm, as doing so would bring enormous trouble. Luo Feng explained that once Morosa reached the ultimate realm, his complete Great Tao would grant extraordinary abilities, including perfectly isolating causality, making investigations by the two ancient countries extremely difficult. Morosa would then become invaluable in hiding, escaping, cursing enemies, and assisting in battles. After Luo Feng conquered the Shei Kingdom's territory, the Reincarnation Tower held its first gathering. The Great Freedom Sovereign praised Luo Feng's extraordinary talent, saying his strength now ranked second only to the Wind City Empress and the Earth God King within the organization. Emperor Gui Shu sighed that Luo Feng had already surpassed him, attributing it to talent. Luo Feng modestly replied that he simply had more avatars. Wuxia God King and others envied this ability, noting that multiple powerful avatars greatly increased deterrence and made the two ancient countries less willing to provoke him. Among the Reincarnation Tower's members, except for Cloud Sky God King, everyone else had reached the peak of the second realm of God King. However, most of them could not directly confront emperors or monarchs. In contrast, experts like the Boatmaster, Pu Xin, and Luo He possessed extraordinary survival abilities that allowed them to stand against such supreme beings. The Boatmaster's mastery of the time path enabled him to restore himself through his past and future selves, making him nearly impossible to kill. Pu Xin appeared only through spiritual bodies and could only be harmed by soul or spiritual attacks. Luo Feng's situation was different. Each of his avatars possessed terrifying physical strength, nearly comparable to a Lord of the Destruction army, and the uncertain number of avatars made him even more dangerous. The Great Freedom Sovereign remarked that if 7 or 8 of Luo Feng's avatars fought together, they might rival the entire Destruction army. The Earth God King explained that Luo Feng's power came from cultivating multiple paths simultaneously. He had reached the second realm in the paths of life, matter, and destruction, making him unique throughout the entire land of origin. Although Luo Feng also cultivated the path of life and death, he had not yet reached the second realm in it. The other God Kings admitted that they cultivated only one path and could not compare to him. Cultivating multiple paths was extremely difficult, and very few beings in the land of origin had even reached the God King level in 2 paths, let alone the second realm in 3 different paths. Cloud Sky God King, the weakest member present, longed to break through into the second realm because her primordial bloodline would become far more terrifying afterward. During the gathering, Luo Feng asked Black Fire Demon Lord whether he could obtain a complete corpse of a second realm primordial bloodline creature. Black Fire explained that such corpses were almost impossible to acquire. The Thunder Ancient Country occasionally sold refined bloodlines or incomplete corpses, but complete corpses had too many uses, such as creating powerful puppets, feeding sector beasts, or enabling soul transfers. Because of these dangers, the two ancient countries closely monitored any trade involving complete corpses. Luo Feng realized that gathering enough incomplete corpses to help Morosa reach the ultimate realm might take an extremely long time. Consuming pure energy alone would require an endless amount of time. Finally, Black Fire Demon Lord secretly revealed another possibility. Although obtaining a complete corpse of a second realm primordial bloodline creature was impossible, there might be a chance to obtain even more powerful fragments of primordial life that had escaped the braided cage. These fragments came from 3 powerful alien races that, like the 2 ancient countries, could bring back fragments of primordial life from outside the land of origin. Black Fire Demon Lord explained that both the 2 ancient countries and the 3 alien races could offer treasures. But the alien races had to transport their items from other source worlds at enormous cost. Because of this, they only brought extremely valuable treasures, such as fragments of primordial life, beyond God King level secret treasures, inheritances surpassing the ultimate realm, corpses of ultimate realm primordial bloodline creatures, and refined primordial bloodlines. Lesser treasures, like second realm godly king corpses, were not worth transporting. He also told Luo Feng that the alien races possessed many treasures but only accepted exchanges of equal value. Usually treasures originating from Yuan's sanctuaries. Since Luo Feng's clone could already rival the Dark Sky Venerable, the alien races would surely notice him and seek cooperation. Because their power was heavily suppressed in the land of origin, they relied on native cultivators to search for treasures. And Luo Feng's strength and numerous avatars made him an ideal partner. Black Fire Demon Lord advised him to compare offers from all 3 races and choose whoever provided the greatest benefits. That night in Huyang City, a casually dressed middle-aged man effortlessly entered the city lord's mansion. Bypassing both the formations and Luo Feng's power of the world, Luo Feng immediately recognized him as the time-space demon, one of the leaders of the alien races and the creator of the time-space lonely boat. Although the time-space demon had a notorious reputation, he claimed he had come only for a fair trade. The time-space demon explained that there were 4 types of treasures in the land of origin that interested him and the other great powers. The first was secret skills left behind by Yuan. Unlike great Dao inheritances, these were techniques that could surpass the God King level and could be exchanged for an entire set of beyond God King level secret treasures or other equally valuable items. The second was special life remnants, which could only be found in the dark area of the dream domain in the deepest part of the heavenly pillar realm. A single fragment was worth at least an entire set of beyond God King level treasures. The time-space demon even offered to trade parts of the corpse of a low-level primordial life, explaining that such beings had low intelligence and could not fully utilize their bloodline potential. The third category was innate secret treasures, naturally formed treasures produced in the depths of the dream domain and heavenly pillar realm. Their value varied greatly, with the best ones being comparable to special life remnants. The fourth category was exotic treasures worth more than 10 billion merit points. Legendary treasures that even the greatest powers desperately sought. The time-space demon invited Luo Feng to trade any of these 4 kinds of treasures with him and encouraged him to compare offers from the other alien race leaders. He emphasized that he never forced anyone into a deal, unlike the ancestors of the ancient countries, who might personally seize precious treasures. He then revealed more about the world beyond the land of origin. The cultivators of the alien races were simply beings from other source worlds. He envied the land of origin because Yuan had left behind a transmission pathway that ultimate realm life forms could use to venture into the greater universe. In contrast, his own source world lacked such a pathway, forcing him to spend 3 reincarnation eras discovering a method of transmitting between worlds. He had even traveled and fought alongside the ancestors of the ancient countries in the past. Ultimately, all of them sought greater strength merely to survive the countless dangers of the vast cosmos. The time-space demon expressed his confidence that Luo Feng would one day leave the land of origin and explore the wider universe. Before departing, he left behind a causal connection that would allow Luo Feng to contact him at any time. Then vanished. Afterward, Luo Feng reflected on the enormous differences between source worlds. He had already stationed an avatar in the dream domain, where the abundant energy allowed it to accumulate about 5% of the energy reserves of his world life buddy's true form. From the time-space demon's information, Luo Feng realized that special life remnants and innate secret treasures could only be found in the dream domain and the heavenly pillar realm. In particular, Special life remnants existed only in the dark area of the dream domain. A place so dangerous that only those with spiritual will beyond the God King level could barely enter. Even emperors and monarchs did not dare venture into the deeper regions of the dream domain because they risked losing control. While the heavenly pillar realm was comparatively safer and had been completely sealed off by the strongest cultivators. Since he had never explored the dark area before, Luo Feng immediately sent one of his weaker avatars toward it. The dream domain itself was divided into the outer layer, middle layer, deep layer, and dark area. Most cultivators searched for treasures only in the middle layer. Few dared enter the deep layer, and almost no one ventured into the mysterious and perilous dark area. Luo Feng's avatar usually stayed in the outer layers of the dream domain, where the pressure on spiritual will was weakest. This time, he sent a weaker avatar ahead as a scout while a stronger avatar, containing 1% of his world life body true body's energy reserves, followed behind. After passing through many independent spaces, he finally arrived at the deep layer of the dream domain and became much more cautious because he had explored this area before and knew how dangerous it was. Even ordinary creatures there possessed strength comparable to Emperor Gui Shu, while some leaders had emperor-level power. During his journey, Luo Feng was contacted by the Wanfa Tower Master, who, like the time-space demon, wished to recruit him after his performance in the battle for the Shei Kingdom had proven that he was one of the strongest cultivators below the emperor level. Among the three alien races, Luo Feng regarded the Wanfa Tower Master as the kindest and most friendly toward native cultivators. After their conversation, he realized that the alien races valued four treasures, especially special life remnants and secret techniques. Special life remnants existed only in two places: the dark area of the dream domain and the deepest part of the heavenly pillar realm. Since the heavenly pillar realm was completely sealed by the two ancient countries, the dark area became Luo Feng's only option. After a long journey, he finally reached the dark area. He sent his weaker avatar in first and followed later with the stronger one. Inside, an invisible force constantly dragged at his spiritual will, threatening to put him into a dream-like slumber. Even Luo Feng had to use half of his heart force just to resist the influence. The environment was also highly restrictive, allowing his beyond God King level spiritual consciousness to observe only tens of thousands of kilometers. His scouting avatar was suddenly destroyed by a beam of light, thanks to the extraordinary vitality of his 24 forms life form. It briefly recovered, only to be destroyed again by a second attack. Before disappearing, it identified the attacker as a weapon resembling a silver shuttle. The attacks were unimaginably fast, guaranteeing a hit within Luo Feng's observation range. He was shocked because even emperor-level experts would struggle to survive such attacks. Continuing carefully, Luo Feng encountered the same silver shuttle with his stronger avatar. A single strike destroyed about 1/10,000th of his energy reserves. He unleashed his vast silver river domain, but it was useless. The silver shuttle moved so quickly that time itself seemed to stop as it crossed tens of thousands of kilometers in an instant. Luo Feng could neither block nor restrain it and could only endure the attacks. His strongest technique, the Great Extinction style, could not even be activated before the enemy had already struck and vanished. Suddenly, 6 silver shuttle creatures appeared and began attacking continuously. Realizing each possessed emperor-level strength, Luo Feng immediately fled. However, during his short escape, the 6 creatures attacked him more than 20,000 times. He barely escaped from the dark area with only 1/3 of his energy reserves remaining. Recovering the lost energy would take approximately 2/10 of an era, which explained why he was unwilling to risk his true body. Determined to try again, Luo Feng replenished his energy and entered the dark area through another entrance. This time, he encountered an even more terrifying creature, a gigantic black metallic beast covered in flames. It was so enormous that Luo Feng could only see part of its head within his observation range. The creature's attacks severely injured him, and after swallowing him whole, his avatar was trapped inside its body and completely annihilated within a few breaths. After these 2 failures, Luo Feng realized that the dark area was currently impossible for him to explore. One encounter involved 6 emperor-level silver shuttle creatures, and the other involved an even more terrifying dark flame creature whose strength surpassed ordinary emperors and monarchs. He concluded that he was still far too weak, although he possessed the Great Extinction style. He lacked movement techniques, defensive methods, and domain techniques, making him far from a well-rounded expert. Luo Feng also realized that since the three alien clans knew about the special life remnants, some incredibly powerful beings must have successfully explored the dark area before. This reminded him that there were still many experts in the land of origin who surpassed him. Unable to obtain the priceless special life remnants, Luo Feng lowered his ambitions and decided to focus on exploring the deep layer instead. The treasures there were far more valuable than those in the middle layer and might even include treasures worth over 1 billion merit points, which could be exchanged for the resources he needed. He vowed that one day he would return and uncover all the secrets of the dark area. Afterward, he continued cautiously exploring the deep layer, where the danger was lower. Most creatures were only at Emperor Guishu's level, and even Emperor-level leaders often acted alone, allowing him opportunities to escape. In the following days, Luo Feng mainly concentrated on cultivation and only occasionally explored the dream domain. Since each death cost him an avatar containing 1% of his energy reserves and required a long time to recover, he had to limit his explorations and ensure that his true body's growth and energy absorption exceeded his losses. Whenever he found valuable treasures, he stored them with his outer layer avatar and used the teams from the Reincarnation Tower to transport both his treasures and avatars in and out of the dream domain safely.